I immediately grabbed the shoulder blade and rattled on the tree, and the moose obviously forgot about the sound of the GPS and kept coming.
Getting rough when I stop believing I'm not tough enough to be free. I just go on with you. That's when we know. That's when we go. When it's just us hunting.
Moose tags are getting harder and harder to get every year. So as much as we would like to stay in one spot and learn that spot every year, it's getting harder and harder.
It was a bit different year than the previous year for sure. The fires were all done.
Sometimes these old burns are good places to hunt too. The big trees get burned out and you get a lot of young undergrowth growing up, and that's feed for the moose. So they find the food source. If you can find those old burns, sometimes it's a good area to hunt.
Over the last decade, probably we've changed wildlife management units 4 or 5 times, all in search of the tag. We're going to where we can get tags, where we know we're going to get tags, or we have the best chance of getting tags. So we ended up having the ace in the hole because we had a little bit of background about this area. We had gone in there, never been there. We were there the year before that, but for our first time being in there, we had a little bit of background on it.
Being into the same area twice, which very rarely happens for us. Usually we're in as you heard before, to get tags, we're everywhere, and we're in every MU we can get in where we can get tags. And going back to the same place was a bonus for us.
Yeah, just because you're staying in a tent doesn't mean you're going to be sleeping on the ground. Well, typically we have 2 12 by 14. We have one 12 by 14, one 12 by 16 prospector tents. We set them end for end. We usually have 15, 16 feet in between those 2 tents, and we tarp it all in under one tarp. So the tent camp ends up being roughly 14 feet wide by 45, 50 feet long. We have wood stoves at either end of these tents, and I don't want to say we're really roughing it because we usually have carpet in these tents. We have electricity in our tents. We run lights in through it. We have electrical outlets in there. We have our chargers for our batteries. We have a laptop in there, and it's a technologically advanced tent, would be the best way to say it. When we first started out moose hunting, we were in the Kapuskasing area. It's the James Bay lowlands, and the moose that we were hunting there were staying in substantially different terrain than what we're used to in northwestern Ontario, where it's predominantly rock and sand. We'll have miles of jack pine plantation, and we're managing to take moose out of there. So it's an evolving mindset for us every year, trying to figure this out, and we're forever changing our strategy. Like any area that you go to, once you're in there, you're into extensive scouting. And we put an enormous amount of miles on our bikes going in there. And we try to find the best moose habitat that we can. We will typically put between 600 and 800 miles each on our bikes.
I think the best year I had, I put 2,300K on in one year. I had a guy at home say, geez, usually we drive our trucks from Ottawa, but you take the bike all the way, or like it's pretty humorous, but we do drive. Some years $800 in gas.
We'll find a spot that looks good to us. We'll hunt it that night. We'll hunt it the next morning. If we don't have any action, there's no sense staying there. And that's where the bikes come in. Then you go out and you start looking. And we'll cover enormous miles. Like we may be 30 miles from our camp by bike. And then we'll set up a stand there, we'll hunt there that night. The next morning, if there's nothing there, then you're off again.
Bruce and myself, we did go to a couple of different spots, and we had some adventure in a couple of spots. We went to one place, it was really tough to get into, but it looked like a really good spot. We come driving in there, and as we're coming down the bank off this road where the creek was, Bruce says, geez, the water looks like it's flowing pretty good there. And I said, can't be much deeper than it was the day before. Well, I drive out into this creek, and before I know it, it's coming right over my waist, like I'm up to my elbows in the water. He's standing on the back seat so he doesn't get a soaker, and the bike quits in this creek. So I had to get out the front, and I'm into my shoulders trying to get the winch cable out, and we got it winched out the far side, and now we're panicking because it's time to hunt, and it's 2 o'clock, and here the bike's flooded. We couldn't get it going, so we ended up standing the bike up on its back wheels and rack and let the muffler drain out, and we were there for about a half an hour before we got the bike going. But it was a cold hunt for me anyways. I sat there dumping water out of my boots most of the night.
Here's something that can happen to anybody and happens all the time. I stopped the truck on the side of the road, started picking blueberries, just got totally caught up in it, been picking them, eating them, as I've been going for about 2 hours. Stop, I turn around, everything looks the same to me now. I don't have a clue where I am. I could be here for days trying to find my way out. But I do know that the road I was on was north and south, and I came off on the west side. I never had a compass with me, but one quick way to find your way out: grab your watch, preferably an analog watch, but you can do it with a digital. And I'm going to point the hour hand towards the sun. And you're going to go halfway between the hour hand and the 12, and you're going to draw an imaginary line. That's pointing due south. The other way is north. I know east and west. I can now get myself out. I know I've only been in here about 200 yards. And if I walk out due east now, I'm going to come out to that road. And that's your Just Us Hunting Tip of the Week.
Well, we're just finishing off the last part of opening day. And, well, we've had our own trials and tribulations, I suppose. A few wet soakers, snuffed the engine out of my bike underwater, got that all straightened up. Put a lot of miles on the bike today, a little bit of walking, not much. It's an early opener this year, and we're aware of that, so as the week goes on, it'll start picking up. But the weather was beautiful this morning. We had ice on our water, and if it stays like that, it won't take long, and the big boys will start moving. So, stick around.
Yeah, well, we had a awesome moose hunt this morning. We were a little late getting out of camp. It was windy, and we weren't that excited. We got out there, and we thought, geez, nothing's going to hear us this morning.
It was cool to start with. We had some snow, so that always encourages the boys. You get a bit of snow, cold weather, seems to get the bulls going. I recall we had a bull off in the distance, was fired up, and he was coming in. We're all excited, getting ready for this bull. And then he seemed to hang up, and he was taking forever to get there.
Bruce went finally and used the shoulder blade on the little birch tree beside us, and right behind us, about within 100 yards, a big bull fired up.
And then all of a sudden, right in behind us, there's some crashing and smashing. There was a second bull had come in unannounced right behind us. I think we'd seen him the year before. We had a close encounter with him, but we couldn't get a shot at him. He was in some thick brush. When I saw the rack, he looked familiar. He walked right out in front of us. He came textbook, and I think it was maybe a 20-yard shot.
We watched him run across the clear cut there. The shot looked good, maybe a little bit low, but as it turned out, it was good. He just got inside the trees, maybe 50 yards, and we got some good video of him there, some good pictures. And
he was one awesome moose.
We think it's a good shot, so we'll methodically follow the blood trail. Got a bit of blood right here. I don't know if you can see it here in the camera. Okay, here we are. We're still following the blood trail. It's going right through here. We saw the moose come through here, and now we've backed it up with evidence. We got a good blood trail. So we'll just keep going. We got hoof prints and we got blood. There. Come up here. Here. Oh, there. I can smell something. You smell that? Gotta be close. Gotta be close. There he is, right there.
It was probably the biggest rack I've shot. It was a nice moose, yeah.
Well, how's this for a first moose for just us hunting? Not bad at all. Wow.
That's a beauty.
Beauty. Well, I hit him just where I thought I hit him. Looks like a nice shot. So, now we got our work cut out for us. We're gonna have to chainsaw a trail in here, get the bikes in, we'll gut them, quarter them, get them out of here and get them skinned and cut up. It's warm weather, so we don't want to waste any meat. We got to get them in the freezer right away. That's a beauty.
We can party hunt for moose. And in order to party hunt, you have to be within communications, and you have to be fairly close together. You don't have to see the person, but you have to be able to communicate to them. And that's how we do it.
With that moose going down yesterday, we rely heavily on radio communications. And we all carry the radios with us right here. And just keeps us legal and keeps us from shooting too many moose.
It's imperative that you have that kind of communication, and it's teamwork.
Stay tuned for more of Just Us Hunting. You heard the man.
I remember this one time I was turkey hunting in the bush well before daylight. All of a sudden I hear this music. Johnny Cash just blasting, it's getting louder and louder, and then over the top of the hill, this Mennonite horse and buggy comes flying over the hill, runs over both my turkey decoys, goes around the first bend and flips over, and stuff everywhere. I ran up to them, head to toe camo, shotgun in hand. They reeked like booze, they could hardly stand up, but I helped them get their buggy back up, and it's a pretty interesting morning, one I'll never forget.
This year I do get to hunt. I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because the other guys had obviously scouted the year before, and I kind of had to take what was left over. The first few days I drove a lot of miles, and I'm not finding anything. And I finally found where a moose had been working the brush. Got some fresh rutting sign here with some trees torn over. That's fresh. Leaves haven't started to turn brown yet. That's exactly what you're looking for moose hunting. So I'm going to set up on this guy. Can't see any tracks. The ground is hard here. There's grass. Can't tell the size of the moose by the ripping he's doing, but any bull is good for me. It poured rain for 2 days, high wind, rain. There was no use of going back till the time is right. The morning did come on beautiful. After about 2 hours, I get an answer from a moose, and he's coming hard. And I got a little excited, and I got to get rid of this raincoat because it's noisy. When you draw your bow, the moose might hear it. I forgot I left the GPS in the pocket. When I take it off, the GPS falls on the stand, clang, and then it hits every branch all the way to the ground. I'm thinking, this is over. I immediately grabbed the shoulder blade and rattled on the tree, and the moose obviously forgot about the sound of the GPS and kept coming. Every 100 yards he'd been racking the brush, and that's a sure sign. Like when that's right in his core area. I think he was unfortunate. He didn't have any cows in his area, so he was a willing participant when he heard my calls, because he didn't have anybody else. I get very excited when I hear him coming for sure. But for some reason, this particular moose, I was pretty calm. I guess I've had so many moose come in and then walk away. I eventually convinced myself that it's probably not going to happen, so don't get excited. But this one coming right down the trail, textbook, he's coming hard. He makes a short dash and is down. He was limping a little bit coming down the trail. I seen that right off the bat. I knew he'd been fighting, and he had some puncture marks on his neck, but they were pretty much healed up. The fact that he was healed up, the rut had been going on for at least 10 days or more. He come in like gangbusters. I racked the brush with the shoulder blade, come right down the trail the way I'd planned. 10-yard shot broadside with the white recurve, 2-blade broadhead. Ran about 60 yards, looked back, down he went, within sight. So all worked out good. Good day.
If you have videos of your hunt and you'd like to see them right here, go to our website, justushunting.com, and email me directly. Who knows, maybe one day you'll see your hunts right here on Just Us Hunting.
I've been hunting for a little over 30 years. My weapon of choice would be bow and arrow and shotgun. I like to hunt moose with bow and arrow, of course, and shotgunning, waterfowling is quite a passion. Successfully taking moose and bear with the bow. As far as shotgunning goes, with successful with the number of geese in the area anymore. The off season, just enjoy walking in the bush, scouting and looking and enjoying the wildlife. My dream hunt, I really don't have a dream hunt. They're all a dream as far as I'm concerned, just being out there with my friends in the mornings and hunting. They're the ones probably that I would say influenced me the most, just being out and enjoying the time with them. I'm Rob Vonk, and this is my profile.
It's a beautiful morning. The fog is just coming off. There's ducks in the water, and it's beautiful. The wind is absolutely still. I'm calling, and I'm getting this bull answering me. He's down at the other end of the lake. And just because they're answering doesn't mean your hunt's over.
I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I have a bull. He's answering all the time right now. And he's only responding when I'm challenging him or I'm using a bull grunt. I haven't heard him any time when I'm using either of the cow calls. I don't know if he's getting any closer, but he just let a series of about 30 grunts go. I don't know if you could pick it up on this mic. He still seems to be a ways away, but that can change in minutes. Let's see what happens. This is what it's all about.
I couldn't entice that bull. I really couldn't. I played with him probably for 2.5 hours, and he wouldn't come in. He would not come in.
I think this particular morning, Carl thought he'd lay down for a few minutes, and I was all wound up. I said, I'm going to go for a walk, check out this lake across through the bush. So I disappeared to go do that.
I woke up, I was sort of just dozing, and I heard something, and I was talking to Bruce, and there was no answer, and the pots kept clanging, and I just pulled the tent flap back, and there's a bear's leg right there, like 5 feet from me outside the tent at the stove, and he was licking a frying pan.
Just as I kind of stepped into the doorway, Carl lets out a dirty old yell, and this bear comes squirting out, rubbing right by me and off into the woods there. So Carl comes jumping out, and he thought I was back doing dishes, but here was this damn bear rummaging around in the kitchen while he's catching a few Z's in the tent there about 10 feet away.
We sat up, and we thought we'd stay there and try and shoot him, and so we sat around, had a couple coffee, and
we were going to get this bear, because once they find the food stores, he'll be back. So we had a bear tag, so Carl's going to shoot this darn bear.
Sooner or later, he came back and made a nice shot on him.
You may have a hard time seeing me here. Kevin's busy burning some steaks over there. We got the smoke rolling all over it. I'm surprised the water bombers aren't coming in like they were last year. Anyway, we're all making supper here. We got some shaggy mains cooking, and got some steaks, and we got some tenderloin here. So we're gonna slice her up. It's the best part on the moose, boy. Nice tenderloin.
After we shoot a moose, the tenderloin is the premium piece of meat off that animal.
What are you cooking?
These are shaggy manes, which we picked this afternoon and cleaned up.
Carl will try anything. I don't know why. Sometimes he believes me when I say they're good for him. So he ends up, I think him and I ate them the first night, and the other guys were kidding. They kind of thought, well, if we survived the night, maybe they'd try them the next day. But it ends up, everybody was eating these darn shaggy manes, and they're all out picking them, and we're cleaning them up and cooking them with the moose meat.
It's a meal fit for a king. We all look forward to it, and we have it, it seems, every year.
It's a holiday. Like, I only get to see these guys for 2 weeks of the year most times. Like, Bruce, I see him once a year, and that's always it. I got to show up a couple days early to help him pack his underwear because he's never ready. Like, I'm fixing his truck, I'm changing springs, I'm doing everything in his driveway. I don't know what he does all year, but not much.
Bow hunting is a solitary sport. It's a personal sport. It's hunting with your own limitations. But the whole group itself hunts together.
It's definitely about the fun. Flat out fun.
If you have videos of your hunts and would like to see them right here on this show, go to our website, justushunting.com, and email me directly. Who knows? Maybe one day you'd see your hunts right here on Just Us Hunting.
Can't see why, and the cold winds blowing from the northern sky. I dream of going hunting, when life's road starts getting rough, when I stop believing I'm not tough enough to be free, I just go hunting.